Hey, this is Gecko Mayhem. This is another Godforge video. Beta 1 has finished. We are waiting for Beta 2. And when I say waiting, we are waiting patiently. We don't know when it's coming. And we know that the team is getting Beta 2 ready. They're taking on our feedback. They're making changes. And we should expect it to be a really worthwhile experience for the development of the game. Well, today's video is a creator collab. Yay, I love these. Sitting down with content creators that I've never met before and having a bit of a chat about Godforge. We talk about Beta 1, we talk about our expectations for Beta 2, we talk about all sorts of things Godforge, so settle in and check this out.
Just real rough, I thought we would just, all of us could introduce ourselves, our background, our gaming background, how we found Godforge, things like that. And then we could talk about the beta experience and then planning for Beta 2. And then one thing I'm on quite a few Discord servers for different games. And there was one user I had that was, he played Element Fission with me and he didn't do the beta. And he's like, sell me on Godforge. Why should I try it? And so I'm wondering if we should maybe kind of end up with that. Like, what would we suggest to people that are thinking about the next beta? But that's just the outline. Who wants to start off with introductions?
So, how about you start yourself, because you're leading this thing.
Okay.
So
okay, all right, we could do that. So, anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. My name for online purposes, anyway, is Tim Plays Godforge. I've been a YouTube streamer and video creator for about 3 years. And I missed the alphas for Godforge, which was disappointing when I found out I missed them, but so the beta was my first experience with the game, which I thought was awesome. And prior to Godforge, I played a lot of them. I played Raid. I tried Epic 7. I didn't like it. And then I spent quite a bit of time with Summoner's War, about 6 years. And although I didn't create content for it that entire time, only about 2 years. And then I hopped on the Element Fission bandwagon. I thought that was going to be pretty cool, but it had a really bad rollout, and it just did not go well. And so one of the things people at Fateless are talking about is they don't want to lose their audience, and Element Fission lost their audience in the first 2 months, and it's been slowly recovering. There's a couple more content creators doing stuff on it now, but I don't know if it'll ever come back. And I've quit doing content for it. I've got too much to learn about Godforge to keep spending time on that. So I think that's about, yeah. And I played a ton of other games, Civilization, XCOM, like Castle Wolfenstein way back in the day. So played a ton of different stuff, but those are really Summoner's War and Element Fission and now Godforge are really the only ones I've ever created content for. And cool. I'm just excited to be involved with this. And this was actually the very first beta I've ever done. I've never done a beta for another game. And so that was a new experience for me. And so, let's see. Gecko, how about you introduce yourself now and give us a little background?
Yeah, hey, this is Gecko Mayhem. I have been making content for Godforge for over a year now, I think. So I was involved with the alphas last year in August. I think it was August. Time flies. I'm a lifelong gamer, man. I'm 46 now, and I've been playing games basically since the mid-80s. Computers at friends' houses, like Commodore 64, and my grandfather had like 7 computers lying around because he was a school teacher and he was extremely eccentric, and so I was introduced to games pretty early, just friends would share zipped files on multiple floppy disks at school when I was at high school, and I would install like Doom and Doom 2 and Descent, and we would play Warcraft 2 or even original Warcraft over peer-to-peer dial-up with a 144K modem. And then of course we moved into the era of 3D gaming, where we had things like Soldier of Fortune, which introduced ragdoll physics for the first time in the mid-90s. And so getting a 3D graphics card in your computer, I had a hybrid card. It was a Voodoo Banshee, and it was really unique at the time to have a hybrid card. You didn't have to have separate cards, one for Windows and one for your 3D gaming. So that was really cool. Of course, I played Unreal and Unreal Tournament. And yeah, just moving through the years, picked up WoW in 2005, early 2005, and I have been a lifelong World of Warcraft player. I only play Classic, so I don't play retail WoW. Kind of avoid that because it's just too buzzy and yeah, fancy and complicated and everything. So yeah, as IPs move through the years, they do become quite convoluted and complicated, and I don't like that. I like things to stay simple, and that's probably one of the reasons that I stopped playing Raid. So I started playing Raid Shadow Legends in 2018 beta, their beta release. I think it was around September 2018. And I played that for years. And then I played it sort of on and off. I would just keep coming back to it, but it got too complicated. There were just too many systems in it. And as much as I liked the theory crafting side of it and trying to build my heroes and understand more about the game and put gear sets together and figure out how I can do well in the arena and things like this, just the amount of changes that it introduced were just too complicated. So yeah, I've been with Godforge, doing Godforge stuff and following it along with it ever since Simon's announcement way back when, before they were even called Fateless, when he said, hey, we're starting a games company. We don't have a name for it yet. We can't reveal that to you. And we don't know what we're going to go with. We're looking at IPs. We don't know what we're going to do. And then when they introduced, when they told us that they were going to work on mythology, I went, oh, that's so good. Because I love mythology and I love history and I love all that stuff, the gods and legends and heroes. So been pretty stoked to be covering this, and I have a very small following, so I've been working really hard to try and build my channel, but I'm not really au fait with social media, so it's been an uphill battle there. But this beta, I think, has been a really good experience overall, because I went back to streaming a little bit, and so that was really cool, just having chats with people live and just, yeah, engaging with the game in its current state.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Gecko. And I still remember when Simon made his video announcement, hey, we're going to make a game. And at that point, I was still playing Raid, but I quit playing Raid shortly after that. And then I completely lost track of it. And 3 years later, here we are. It's like, it's so close. But and then our last creator here, and I apologize.
Only to apologize. I'll do the pronunciation myself in that case, because it's a tongue twister. So my real name is Jolt. Okay, so that's
Jolt.
Yeah, it's a Z and the S is forming a J sound, as in vision, for example, and then it's going to be super easy, and because the rest is straightforward. But I'm from the Strategy Core channel. And, well, I got started back in the days, also late 80s, early 90s, with Commodore 64, especially shout out to Defender of the Crown. That was one of my favorites back in the days, along with Grand Prix Circuit, but that doesn't go well with this audience. Afterwards I started climbing like the rankings in terms of like Amiga, some PC, 486DX something, 80 with 4 megabytes of RAM, or 8 megabytes of RAM. We had so much memory back in the days. Bill Gates said that 640 kilobytes would be enough anyway, forever. So but back in the days with Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, StarCraft, and these types of games, we figured out that there is a lot of entertainment with these kinds of PC games. Also with the Sega, Genesis, and Nintendo era, where there were quite a few role-playing games, as well as some others that basically told a story based on engaging gameplay. And this is what I really wanted to see. Even today, with some of the high budget where you need to explicitly tell the player what to do. Just think about the Ubisoft tutorials. Click here, click here, click here, and after 20 minutes of tutorial, you can start playing the game. Back in the days, it was so much different. And that's why I kind of liked as well that Godforge itself, as we got started, it didn't offer like a 20-minute long mandatory tutorial, but it was quite straightforward. But talking about the brief history afterwards, there was a detour that I made between like 2006, 2010 or so, because back in the days I was a professional poker player. So basically what I did was I was like 6 to 8 tabled different types of poker games, let them be sit and goes or cash games, and made money out of it back like a long time ago. And that's where I figured out what the grind is all about. So I could relate to it, although it was a profitable activity like a long time ago. But I finished that activity around like 2010, 2011 when basically United States was completely shut out of it and some other countries got segregated. So I went back to gaming. And even though I didn't play a lot, sometime in 2024 or so, 2023, 2024, I stumbled upon a game that I used to play a lot on PC. It was Heroes of Might and Magic 3, right? And there was a game called Era of Chaos. And that's what introduced me to mobile gaming, basically. And since then, I've figured out like similar videos. That's how I got to know about Simon as well. That there was this crazy game called Raid Shadow Legends. And I saw that they were trying to get some crazy heroes like Skeletor and whoever else. You know, Skeletor is back even now. And I was intrigued, like, what is this? What is this? What are all these problems that those creators are talking about? That pay to win heroes. What does it mean, pay to win heroes? And then I figured it out that okay, I might as well try it in the 2025 Hell Hades challenge. And I went through the 3 months, and I kept the account ever since. But I didn't really get involved in Raid that much. So I kept it free to play, kept it on the side. And that's my history. I got to know Godforge, obviously, that I was following Simon after a while. And I went through all the 3 alphas as well, and the beta.
Okay, very good. Thanks for that intro. It's so I'm the only one here that was the first gaming experience was the beta. So
That's
okay.
good. That's
Cool.
good, man.
Yeah. It's all right. So the beta just ended. And since I was this was my first experience, maybe it'd be interesting for maybe both of you to talk about what was this experience like compared to the alphas? Like, was it better? Was it worse? How did things differ? And what was your opinion of the betas?
Well, it was a bit slower.
So with the alpha, it was a completely different approach to the game for us. So they basically wanted us to test particular systems and mechanics. They wanted us to test out the gearing system, the weapons and imprint system, and upgrading heroes with the promotion system. So you could turn them into spirits, and you could use heroes to promote other heroes. You could ascend them. You could book them. They wanted us to test out those systems, but it didn't have any of the gameplay that the beta had. They basically built us a specific playground, so to speak, in which to test these elements, and they gave us the means to gather resources quite easily. So if you farmed overnight at higher stages, you would come back with 3 or 4 legendaries in your roster because they didn't have any summoning. So they gave us the means to get legendaries and epic heroes through the stages themselves. And to get the gear, you could pinpoint gear sets and gear slots, and weapons. You could farm up to even legendary weapons at the higher stages. And by the 3rd alpha, they actually wrapped it all up in the guise of a competition. So they wanted everyone to push as many stars as they could for the star challenges and to reach Fafnir on floor 150. and do the highest damage they could against Fafnir on the mirrored floor of 151. So we were able, if you played enough in the alphas, to actually acquire awakened legendaries and legendary weapons that were empowered by other copies of those legendary weapons. And so we were quite spoilt, I think, in the alpha.
Wow.
In that we were able... So I actually acquired in Alpha 3 all 17 legendaries that were in the game at the time. And I even awakened... I'm pretty sure I awakened a Heimdall to Awakened 5 as well. I had that many copies of Heimdall. So this was basically... We were just so spoiled in the alpha because of what we were able to get. But it was for a purpose, right? It was so we could test what was broken, what worked well, what the synergies were, what we could theory craft, how the buffs and debuffs worked well, and the challenge of conquering the stages, which got very difficult near the end, and also the bosses themselves. We got to test out boss environments with different hero and party synergies.
Yeah, well, that was the alpha, and both alpha 1, 2, and 3 were really interesting in a sense that you had a cavern experience. It's like an upside down Doom Tower where you go down the caverns and get different battles. Every 10th battle was a boss stage, and then you knew that like level 3, 13, 23, and so on, you got a certain type of weapon. And basically sometimes you get heroes. There was a place where you get experience. There was another place where you get gold, and it was super straightforward as well. And this is why those who played the alpha were a bit too spoiled. I understand. I can still remember some of the experimentation, and then knew it all along that it would slow down in beta. Because it had to, it's basically a real player experience. You get started on level 1 and then you level it up, and you have 2 weeks approximately. And the issue is that as it slows down, you will hit a roadblock around like day 1, day 2, day 3, depending on how quickly you burn energy. And to me, the roadblock was not that I couldn't know what to do. I knew exactly what to do. My roadblock was that I had like 3,000 energy, 4,000 energy, then 5,000. It just went up all the time. And to burn all that energy, you had to farm overnight, basically, which I didn't do. So my experience was a bit elongated. And there we had to work with rares and epics. In the alpha, you could just work with legendaries. You got the resources, not a problem. Here, rares were the key to making progress, because the upgrade costs, ascension costs, and even the awakening costs, they were super fast with rares. They are a lot slower for epics, and legendaries were basically hopeless for me.
Okay, very interesting. So, yeah, I thought this being my first beta, I was wondering about how quickly I could make things in the game. Essentially, my main thing was how high could I get my weapons and how high could I get my heroes, and I rapidly hit a wall. So I also did not farm overnight. I think I did one, and there was another night that I stayed up till like 5 a.m. just playing, and that was the only day I could really do that. So yeah, I was never hurting for energy. I was never hurting for gems. What I was hurting for was fodder and XP and gold to get heroes up to level 60. And I ended up only making one level 60. I had a ton of other heroes at 5-star. But honestly, with the way the promotion system was, like, it took me 45, 50 minutes to make my 1 6-star. And I was like, yeah, I don't really want to go through that again. So I was kind of like, I'm just gonna, and you guys mentioned in the alpha, it was all legendaries, and in this, like, there were so many good rares and so many good epics, and I actually pulled quite a few really nice heroes, and I just wanted to explore those at 4-star and 5-star, and see about who would I then want to really focus on in beta 2.
Actually, there was an uncommon that I used back in the days in the alpha on level 120, the Golden Guardian. I don't remember which uncommon it was. I think the Lion.
You did? Because it puts up ward?
Yeah. Sorry?
The Nemean lion places ward on itself. That's the only thing it brings. Like,
Yeah, but for some reason, the skill constellations back in the days in the alpha, it worked with the Golden Guardian.
okay.
I don't really remember how because I didn't even check the Lion anymore. It was like more than half a year ago. But uncommon rares, and I had to drop a legendary from the roster because it didn't contribute. The Golden Guardian was quite strange. It's too bad that I didn't meet him here. It would have been really good to farm gold.
Oh yeah. Gold was definitely a barrier for me as well. So, unlike you guys, I knew that we only had 2 weeks, and if I was going to push content and actually test content further along and help find what was wrong and whether it was a smooth flow and where there were pain points deeper into the game, I knew that I was going to have to farm resources. And so outside of my 6-hour streams, which were spent just doing all the activities throughout the game, I did actually just set auto battles and try to burn through all of my energy. And I spent all of my rubies on ether stones because I just thought I'm just going to have fun at the same time, and summoning stuff is fun. So I just did that instead of spending it on gold or energy or whatever. I just spent all of the rubies on ether stones, ancestrals, and that allowed me to get my 500 fragments by the end of it, and I got myself my free legendary with my echo fragments. But yeah, I did spend or leave the game because I just play on PC, so to me it didn't matter. It's just running in the background, whether I'm working on videos or playing WoW or even just AFK, I could just have it running and just auto battles going so long as they're actually succeeding and you're not getting a defeat. Because some of those boss stages, once you got to stage 6 or 7, beyond that it got really tough and you had to actually look for the locks, the keys that fit the locks, so to speak. That's one of those metaphors that we've been using across the community. But overall, I did find that there was a pinch when it came to gold and XP even, and the promotion thing. I only had 160 until the last day. Unlike some people I heard had 5, 6, 7 level 60s. I don't know why they spent that much time leveling their heroes, because I was getting through adventure mode with level 50s and one level 60, which was a maxed. I had a maxed out legendary. So you know how they gave us books as just an incentive or whatever. They gave us those books as a reward, and they gave us other resources, right, over time. They gave us energy and rubies and whatnot. So I used those books on Keyseen, my legendary, and he was the only level 60 I had. But because he was booked out and that, he was very strong and he was able to just bring some damage for me. So that was basically my experience. It was definitely too grindy though.
That was my experience too, by the way, with the campaign. The full campaign can be solved, and most of the stars could be acquired, maybe even all stars, with level 50s.
Level 50,
a team of level
absolutely.
50.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't even get a single 6-star. Well, it was a lifestyle choice as well. I wanted to test variety, like multiple heroes. I went up to level 50, and when I hit a roadblock, I did something else, either weapon training or selecting an imprint for the weapon, or something with gears, so swapping gear here and there, ascension, and these kinds of things were enough. And with the farming, basically what I tried out, even though I didn't do overnight farming, I did go to a half marathon. Well, and I tested in the last half hour or so how it was working. It drained like 20-25% of the battery, so it was not an ideal thing. Maybe I would have needed a second device to do that.
So, did you guys go into the beta with a plan?
Yes, in a manner of speaking. My plan was to start streaming again and to spend all of my daily streams just trying to get as far as I could. I wanted to finish story mode and get to adventure mode. I had no real hope that I would get through adventure mode to heroic after Simon's comments in the videos leading up to it. But I did have a plan. My plan was to see what I got in terms of supporting my my starter hero, and one of my other plans was to not use my minigame rewards, and I didn't. I didn't touch my minigame legendary, weapon, or imprint. So I just ignored them. Yeah, that was one of my goals, was to approach it with just my starter hero and see what would happen. And then I knew that we were going to get guaranteed legendary from our first flawless. Of course, I didn't know where we were going to get that flawless Etherstone from. They gave it to us pretty early. The starter quests basically led to it. So if you played enough on day one, you'd get a starter legendary, so to speak. So I did have a bit of a plan in that regard. I wanted to aim to finish story mode, maybe 3-star everything. See what happened.
Yeah. And when I said I didn't have a plan, it means that I wanted to get surprised by the mechanics. I wanted to try out new things. The only thing I knew is that I selected a starter hero that was Ramses this time. And I wanted to see for how long that starter hero is carrying me and what I need exactly to keep him alive and to defend from hits and maybe add some debuffs on the enemies. These are the things that were important to me initially, and I wanted to test out the mission system as well. To see if it's a raid-like experience where you get started, you know exactly that on day 2, maybe early day 2, you can fuse someone for you can finish half of the arbiter mission in 2 days, basically in raid, free to play. And here as well, I was looking forward to some longer term progression, but the roster itself limited me quite a lot. So I went to another place. Another interesting thing that I observed on day 1, because I wanted to test out all the offers and the shops. And there was a calendar of gold. Unfortunate situation that by the time I understood how scarce gold is, day 1 expired. I started playing around midnight, a bit before midnight. And I had about 1 hour because the next day, the following day came at 1 a.m. for me. And then I figured out, oops, day 2, and there is a calendar for 14 days, and the last gold step was like 3 million, I think. And if I buy it on day 2, most likely I will never get the last day's gold. So that's how I skipped the calendar too. But it gave gold too late, so it was not ideal either. I figured out quite early that gold was the bottleneck to spend the rubies on. Not sure what you spent your rubies on.
Well, so for me, gold was not an initial bottleneck because I was not attuning weapons, which seemed to be a huge cost. Like there were some weapons, it was like over $1 million gold to attune it. And I was like, yeah, that's not happening. And then after I did make Ramses level 60 fairly quickly, I think by day 3 or 4. And then I knew I made a fairly quick decision, like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that again, because that was just a lot of time that I could be spent testing other things. So I did initially, I had a plan going in where I knew, I knew I wasn't going to like outpace any of the people that had done alphas, because they would just have so much more knowledge about the game than I would. But I wanted to be in like that second tier of people that were really pushing. And well, my job had other plans for me. So I had 3 days kind of right in the middle of the beta that were just super busy for work. And so all I could do, so I was right at the point where I wanted to start pushing deeper into the armor dungeons, but I didn't have the time to do it. I didn't have the time to find those lock picks for the what are the keys to the dungeons. So I just spent a couple of days just iPad on the side while I was at work, where I was just farming campaign to get XP and fodder. And I was actually a little bit surprised at the armor that you get out of campaign. It really wasn't, I mean, it clearly wasn't as good as what you get out of the dungeons, but you could get some reasonable pieces out of it, and I was pretty surprised at that because raid you don't get anything good, and in Summoner's War you only get 4-star gray, which is that's like nothing. Um, so I was pleasantly surprised by that, but I knew um, I needed to be spending more time in dungeons, and that kind of slowed me down.
Yeah, you mentioned the attune mechanic. I think it's going to change later because the original intention, as far as I could understand, the original intention behind the attune mechanic was for late game when you really know that you have found the gear set that you
Yeah.
want to commit to forever, similarly to the imprint.
Yeah.
But we could attune already on day one.
Mm-hmm.
Not for 1 million, but for like 200-300K. And then I signaled it in the community that, listen, this is essentially gear removal. Timing back, which the market said back in 2025 that the market didn't want gear removal. So what is the justification? That we get more stats when we attune. But forcing players to attune because it's part of the game, like too early, is not an intended effect as far as I could understand. It was a side effect that had to be tested in the beta.
And they did force us to attune one weapon as part of the missions, which was basically complete a mission by spending 200,000 gold. And I was on the fence about that because I had not attuned a single weapon because they were too expensive to attune, and I didn't know what the benefit was of attuning a weapon. I couldn't see any benefit to it. It didn't tell you. You couldn't click on the little blue link, chain link thing, and it wouldn't give a pop-up, wouldn't tell you what it was doing. I was like, well, the mission is telling me to do it, therefore I have to do it because I want to move on with the missions. So I did it, and there was no change to my weapon. And I went, why did I just spend 200,000 gold? Well, I know why. It was to fulfill a mission. But if there wasn't a mission to do that, I would never have attuned a weapon because there was zero benefit to it, at least no visual benefit. And another thing with weapons outside of attuning is I couldn't figure out what weapons were actually doing for you. So there were some of the blue weapons, and they had their main effect was plus 5% healing or plus 5% accuracy or plus 5% whatever, right? And when you checked it against your character stats, it didn't change the stats at all. And so you'd put the weapon on, your stats didn't change. And you'd go, only the secondary stats on it are changing my stats. The actual main effect is doing nothing. And I figured by the last day that what it was actually doing was it was altering your stats in combat only. But you can't check your stats in combat. And so if you had an accuracy dagger that was like 4-star or whatever, and it added 15% accuracy, you'd have to just manually calculate in your head what 15% accuracy meant for you, and in combat that's what you would get for your accuracy. So it was a little bit convoluted in that. I think they need a lot more clarity around, well, lots of things in the game, but we're talking about weapons and attunement, right? And I just wasn't really that happy with the attunement system. And like Jolt, I think that it is pay for gear removal in a different wrapper. That's what it is. It's just gear removal cost.
Yeah, I would agree.
The idea,
Go ahead, Joel.
the idea behind the gear removal cost is that you don't just have, let's say, 5 gear sets that you move around for everyone, and you just replace the characters if you need to farm something. And maybe you have a 6 gear set for something like what Scarab King was back in the days in Raid. So that's the idea, that you want basically multiple gear sets. The suggestion that I made, and I think I even submitted a Jira ticket on it, was that attunement is absolutely fine for late game, but then please add a wardrobe of at least 2 separate gear sets, if not more. I don't mind if you need rubies to unlock it per hero, but you want something that you have the primary gear set, you have a secondary gear set, and maybe with different content you swap between a gear set A and gear set B for free. And both of them are attuned for you, because the attunement is the fitting of the gear and not the player learning the skill. Although you can argue semantically that it could be both.
That would
make sense.
That'd be kind of similar to when WoW introduced dual spec, and that freed up it freed everything up for players. So originally, when you respect a character in WoW, if it was a hybrid character especially, you would want to respect between, say, healing and tanking, or maybe PvP and PvE, right? And the cost climbed until it capped out at 50 gold, which back in original WoW, 50 gold was a lot of gold. And if you were respeccing every week for your weekend PvP, you had to farm that gold to pay for your respec. And then they introduced dual spec, where you could pay a one-time 50 gold fee and you could have 2 saved specs. And when they released Classic WoW in 2019, they introduced dual spec right from the very start, the vanilla version. And it was huge. People could just go, I've paid my 50 gold at level 40, or, probably didn't have 50 gold at level 40, but whatever. And I can just swap between these 2 specs so long as I am just outside of combat. And that's it. It drains all my mana or drains all my rage or whatever, but I'm swapping it out and I'm going into this other spec. So having 2 or 3 or whatever gear sets would be similar to that, where you've paid a resource cost to unlock it, and you've got these already preset things that you have set up because you've worked out what works well, and you can just switch between them. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, I think attunement itself does need a little bit of tuning.
Yeah, it needs more explanation, because I didn't see the value of doing it either. And I did notice that when you attuned a weapon, because I was just testing everything, so I went ahead and just tested attunement. Occasionally I would see a message that would say, "Oh, your weapon is now 1 level higher when you attune it," but
That's it.
I didn't see a star. Like the star value didn't go higher.
Mm-hmm.
The basic stat didn't go higher. So
That's
I'm like,
right.
what is this really doing for me? So
Yeah.
I think Fateless really does need to explain that a lot better. Maybe have a bit of a tutorial, or maybe they just release, modify it, fix it so that people understand it. Because I think a lot of the videos I do for Summoner's War are actually for new players joining the game, because and believe it or not, there are still new players joining Summoner's War, but and so I'm always focusing on what can I teach people in my videos at the beginning if they're a brand new player, because the systems are pretty complicated in Summoner's War, and they're pretty complicated in Raid, and the attunement one was very vague in Godforge, and so hopefully they fix that.
They will. Yeah, they've received a lot of feedback around not just attunement of weapons and gear, but just every game system. And this beta having 75,000, I don't know if it was players, it was probably accounts, which is probably, 30,000 players? But even so,
Yes.
it's a few thousand players. It's more than one player, right? It's more than their internal team,
Yep.
QA team. It's multiple people from different perspectives coming in, trying out the game, getting to different places within the game, further along in the campaign, deeper into the dungeon bosses, learning the systems, experiencing the systems, and if everyone's given feedback, then they are well aware that a lot of things have fallen short in terms of communication within the game. And I'm big on user experience, not just user interface, but user experience itself. And I noticed, and I have noted, and I have given feedback on many areas where user experience fell short, or the user interface fell short, where it was confusing or inconsistent, or wasn't easy, or didn't make sense, or didn't have help text. In all these areas, hopefully I've provided enough feedback, but hopefully the thousands of other people that played the beta and experienced it from the same perspective that I did, that, hey, this UI needs work, this user experience needs work, and all these different systems within the game, they will take that on board and they will discuss it and they will roundtable it and they will work on it. And they've said they are. They've basically intimated that the reason that Beta 2 is being pushed back, we don't know when Beta 2 is going to be. Please do not tell people it's going to be in 8 weeks, because we don't know when Beta 2 is going to be. We'll let you know when it's going to be, but we're working on things because of all this feedback that we've been receiving throughout Beta 1. And I suspected that was going to be the case. I knew or I felt that they were going to not give us a definitive time frame on beta 2 because it would be dictated by the feedback from beta 1 and what they actually get out of beta 1 in terms of the data that they gather.
Yeah.
They want
Absolutely.
a good launch.
Oh, absolutely.
Super
Yeah.
important.
Another thing I raised
And,
actually in previous discussions, sorry, Joel, is that the one of the main reasons that people were disappointed, I'm doing finger quotes for people listening, but people were disappointed with this beta is because Fateless just about shot themselves in the foot by going, oh, we're thinking of going into early access. We think the game's in a really polished place. We think it's really good. We are thinking of going into early access. And then a few weeks later, actually, we're going to do a beta test. That threw people. They went, if the game's almost in early access, it must be really far along. It must be polished. The user experience must be fantastic. And then they went into it and they went, this is really actually is a beta. They should never have said they were ready to go into early access. Like, I think it was just, they were just excited, maybe, I think. Because Simon and Sham and Dan, they're all gamers, right? And they just get excited about stuff like us. We get excited about stuff if we're working on a project and we make progress on that project. We want to share it, and we're just excited about how it's coming along. And they were just excited gamers instead of development, overseers. they got a bit excited about the whole thing, and I think that was a little bit naive. It's not their fault that that's the case, because they're not really that seasoned. I know Sham released a game previously, not a PC game, a card game, but still he's worked in the game space. It's just they were a little bit naive when it came to how to communicate with the community about how ready the game was. It's made leaps and bounds since alpha. They've tweaked and they've added, like, there are 206 heroes now. There were what? How many were in the alpha? Was it 66 or something? It wasn't.
Yeah, but the rest were on the background.
Yeah.
They were
So
already developing it.
they have actually made leaps and bounds, but they've still actually got a fair way to go in terms of having help text, having information, and all of that. And I think that disappointment stems from the expectation that was set, and it was the wrong expectation to set for the community. Some of us have been following it very closely, and we were aware that, hey, just because you said early access and then you said beta, that doesn't matter to us. We'll just go into it expecting kind of a basic version of the game. The graphics are not going to be up to scratch. The system's not going to be up to scratch. There are going to be bugs. Things are going to break. Things are not going to go as far as we think they are. We're going to get frustrated with it. That's cool. And yet there are other people who are not as entrenched in the community who heard that they were planning to go into early access, then were told they were going to beta, went into the beta expecting it to be closer to a launch state, and therefore it kind of muddied how they viewed it when they should have been viewing it as a beta.
Or rather an alpha on some level, because
On some levels,
some of the
absolutely.
interfaces were still placeholders. And that's why when it comes to alpha and beta, these are all convoluted terms,
Yeah.
and we never know what people mean by them. It is absolutely fine to go on a beta, for example, like a beta 2 is also possible in a matter of months or more, who knows, because there is no set date, as you said. But it is absolutely possible to say, listen, this is beta, we're going to test the payment system. You can buy stuff in the shop, and there will be a wipe. So we're going to remove all your progression, but your spending is going to come back later with some markup, with some extra incentive.
Yeah.
Many games do this, and it's absolutely fine to do this in a beta. It doesn't even have to be early access.
Raid did it.
So this is going to be possible.
Raid actually did it, and they didn't do a wipe. So Raid called their beta. They called their early release beta. They said it was still in the beta phase because they were testing things out. They wanted feedback on how the arena played in a live environment. It only went up to Gold 4 or maybe even Gold 3 back then, the arena. And they had the clan boss went up to Nightmare. There was no Ultra Nightmare. And there were far fewer they call them champions in Raid. I'm used to calling them heroes now. There are far fewer champions in Raid. But when they released it was called a beta, right? And it felt like an early release, really. There were not too many beta-esque elements within the game when they did that. But they allowed spending from the get-go, and they flowed into their global release without account wipes. So That's just another way of doing things.
Hey guys, my son just popped his head in. He has a question. I'm gonna need like 2 minutes to chat with him, and
Absolutely.
then I'll be right back.
All good, dude. Yeah.
Right. Then shall we continue, or shall we just wait until or chat without any
Yeah, I mean,
extra
anything's
agenda?
good. Chat about anything that is Godforge adjacent. So, so you've been making content, have you?
Yeah, a lot more content is still on my hard drive, so not
Okay,
everything is
right.
published. I want to continue with some mechanic analysis, and I
Okay.
wanted to create an AI-based matching algorithm to figure out what is going on if you have a certain challenge
Mm-hmm.
where you know what the opponent's skills are
Hmm.
and how to optimize, just like a raid optimizer, but
Mm-hmm.
basically with some with some extra coding involved. That's what
Hmm.
I'm planning sooner or later.
Okay. So you're talking about how to overcome challenges within the game, as in, are you talking about any area of the game? So, for example, if you
Yeah.
see a particular arena team and you know who those heroes are in that arena team and therefore what abilities they have, and you know you don't know what gear they're wearing, so you don't know their gear sets, you don't know their weapon imprint, you don't know their weapon bonus, unless they're going to divulge that information at the outset in arena. But you're saying that you'll have a system where you can plug in, this is my enemy team, therefore I should counter it with this. This is the best thing from my setup. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
I don't have a full system yet. It's only in my mind.
Okay, but
But
that's what you want to do.
the idea is going to be that success leaves clues in one way or another, in the form of stats or in form
Mm,
of a given minimum and maximum hit,
yep.
and you can reverse engineer some of the
Mm,
stats based on that. And computer can very easily see millions and millions of combinations every
mm-hmm,
second. And you just try out certain scenarios that are quite common for this type of team,
mm.
and then you come up with some optimal builds. That's the idea.
So optimal builds for dungeon bosses that account for wave clearing, optimal builds for overcoming a star challenge. So you know that you
Yeah.
need 2 heroes from this faction to be able to complete a star challenge. Therefore, I'm going to wrap it in, this strength, or these heroes that are going to, carry the brunt of what I need, and then fulfilling those particular requirements. Interesting. Yeah, because we do this in our head, right? We try to figure out
Yeah.
how am I supposed to overcome this? You learn boss mechanics. You look at a star challenge and you go, can I do this at present? I'm going to try it. I'm going to spend resources building a couple more level 50s. I did that. There was a particular star challenge. I needed to bring something in, so I brought them to level 40. And I went, I need one more of these at level 40. And so I did that, and I tried it out and tested it out, and sometimes I was successful. I mean, trial and error, right? You got to try and overcome these challenges by just trying stuff out. I was actually quite stoked. One of the campaign star challenges in adventure mode was 4 eternal slayers, and
Oh God!
so I had Machao, who's an eternal slayer. I had Li Naomasa, who was bugged, by the way. His crit didn't work or something. So those 2 rare eternal slayers, and I pulled what's her name? One of those Echo ones. She's an epic slayer, eternal slayer. I can't remember her name now, but yeah, I had her, and I've actually got 3 of her now going into alpha into beta 2, so I can awaken her straight off the bat. And I pulled another one. I think it was Shkek, one of the American ones, and she's an eternal slayer. So when I pulled my 4th eternal slayer, I went, I can do that challenge. So we do try to work these things out in our heads before we do challenges. But when it comes to arena, though, you don't know what the other team is going to bring in terms of speed and faith and gear and bonuses and things like that. That's part of what I love about PvP, though. You don't know if you're going to have a chance. Like, it looks like you will, But until you're actually in there and you're employing your tactics, you just don't know. So you can look at a team and go, oh, they're a really high defense team. Therefore, if I outspeed them, I should be able to just break through the defenses, take out their key hero, and then I'm sweet for just chipping away at their defenses. But you never know; it might become an impossible battle. Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to that in terms of PvP. My favorite area of Summoner's War is Siege, and I also enjoy the arena as well. But I think the imprint system is going to like throw a wild card into PvP because, well, one, you don't know what weapon, and I hope they actually don't reveal that. I hope they don't share what weapon the enemy's using. I hope they don't show what the imprints are, because you're just gonna have to work at it. And I think that could be really cool, because both now I was never very high in raid arena. I think I got to gold 3 or 4 at the top. And then in Summoner's War, I got midway through. And in both of those games, it felt like for in raid, everybody was, for a while anyway, everybody was in stone skin, and in Summoner's War, everyone's in violent runes with as much speed as they can possibly get, and that aspect of PvP got very repetitive then. So I'm hoping that the hero, the number of heroes in the game plus the number of imprints that are available are going to make the PvP much more interesting.
Still, you cannot get everything all at once. So, for example, if you have very high speed, then you don't have that high from like other stats, for example, attack, defense, or whatever else is needed, and everyone has a weak spot. And there you can create scenarios that, listen, you bring this character in this set with this imprint, and they either have fast speed, then we're gonna slay them with another in another way, or they have a higher other stat, which we don't know yet which it is. But then they get a disadvantage because they are slower, and either way they're gonna lose. From time to time, if your account is developed well enough, and you have a synergic team, that basically the idea is with synergy, that you bring a team that just complements each other and is also trumps the affinity of the other player. So you get some extra stats that the other doesn't.
Course,
and it's really hard to do it mentally. It is a lot easier to do it with some extra aid.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, like you said, millions of calculations in some cases, right? And being given the best result to say, look, this is the best synergy for this situation. Even if they've got Forge Fire, even if they've got this particular set, or if they've got a set, just bring Acid. There we go. But there are so many complicated crossovers and that it can be hard to figure out, hey, am I bringing in the best that I can bring to try to counter this? Because I don't know what this team is going to actually have. I don't know if they're going to be faster than I am from the get-go. I know what the heroes do, therefore I know, hey, they're bringing Izanagi and he's going to push their turn meter, or they're bringing Perun and therefore he's going to get 2 turns before I take a turn because of his insane turn meter push, and then he's going to smash me with lightning, and so I need to mitigate that. Or, hey, if I push their turn meter back, are they going to counter in some way? And this kind of thing, like with Divana, if you try to manipulate turn meter, then she's just going to counterattack and just do really serious damage. There are all these factors to consider. So yeah, I think it would be handy to have a tool or a program that actually helps you to remove the brain work in terms of impossible calculations and figuring it out. It can also be fun to just go in wild, raw, just see how it is, see if you win. I'm fine with losing. I'm not competitive at all. I just love trying to use my brain to figure out if I can overcome this challenge. and try very hard. And I've taken clips of Raid in the past where it was just like it ended up in live arena being 1 versus 1, and I'm just like, it could go either way. It could go either way. And then I'd res my Kale, and then the guy that resed him died, and there was this one with Kale versus Bad Alcazar, and I was like, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? It's like back and forth, and he was healing, and I was placing poisons, and it was like, you don't know what's gonna happen, and then you win, and you go, yes, or you lose, and you go, well, that was close, man. That was close. So
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, so team synergy is going to be super important in this game, obviously. I'm wondering what you guys think about, like, who did you build in the beta, and who did you start seeing maybe a little bit of synergy with? And like, who did you really enjoy?
That's the tough part because I don't have access to my own team. I can remember that Ramses was about full attack, and I had 2 revivers. One of them was a legendary, but I forgot her name. And the other one was also Isolde was quite handy because of the speed aura and the extra healing that she brought.
yeah,
But when I brought Isolde with the reviver, too many slots were occupied on sustaining energy, and I couldn't hit.
Yeah.
So I went with two brawlers. One of them was Ramses, the other one was an epic guy, and so like most of the time. But I got some really weird, really slow team as well. Where there was one brawler, but that brawler could have died as well. But then afterwards, the resurrection mechanism just made sure that he just skipped 3-4 turns, and the others were quite tanky to stay alive. And there, I managed to win a battle in like 5-6 minutes. Because it was a special challenge where I had to bring two heroes, and my second brawler was taken out because of the star challenge.
Okay.
So for me, I evolved over the course of the beta, but my guaranteed legendary from my first flawless was Kisin in the Mayokan faction, and he is a slayer, and he has AoE on his basic and his core and his ultimate. They're all AoE attacks, and he does pretty serious damage if you build him right. Took me quite a while to get the resources to get his crit to 100%, but I did it, and he carried me through a lot of the content. I brought him into everything that I did. I could go to Mayokan 9 in story mode and just solo it in as fast as the stage would allow you to solo it. It was just one hit clears, right? If I was so inclined. So he was huge. Kisin was huge on my account. And when I got Pandora, she's an eternal epic. She's a disruptor. I realized just how useful disruptors are in PvE content, in wave clearing, in controlling. And I had to end up bringing 2 disruptors for all of the adventure mode campaign stages, because if you didn't have 2 disruptors, you just weren't controlling the enemy enough. So yeah, Pandora was huge for me. And I had Cleopatra really early on. She's also an Eternal. She's epic, and she's an Invoker. So she was bringing my healing and a little bit of turn meter boost, and she has a revive as well. So if she could get to her ultimate, then she could just revive, and that happened quite frequently. I used her in dungeon teams more than anything. With wave content in the campaign, I stopped bringing her because I had another speed lead. So I had two eternal speed leads. One was Cleopatra, the other one was Eugen, the blue dragon in the Izumo faction, and he has a speed lead aura as well. Leader bonus, and he's a defender. So I didn't 60 him until the final day, when I just wanted to push and see how much stronger he was at level 60. He needs accuracy for his attack down, but yeah, he was huge as well. He was basically the leader of my parties everywhere once I got him.
Yeah, I got Ryujin with, I think, 1 or 2 days to go, and I loved him.
He was huge.
I never got him to 60, but like, so I really do like Isolde, but her extra heal only happens if there's another defender on the team. And so, and I didn't really like most of the other defenders I had. So then when I got Ryujin, I was like, okay, those two are going to be always together, and that made my team way more survivable. And that I really enjoyed the last couple days, and I did use I got Quetzalcoatl from Godforge Quests, and even though he was bugged, like he would make all of my runs much longer because every time you'd get into a phase, it would just freeze for 5 or 10 seconds, and then you could continue at least. But and I chose Ramsey as my 160, and I was happy with Ramsey's, and I did get him up to 100% crit rate, and he did smack, and but I did notice that I also was building Guan Yu and Lady Shock as 5 stars just to see what they could do as well. And my Lady Shock was also at 100% crit rate. And she was only a 5-star, and she was hitting for almost as much damage as Ramses was. And I was like, wow, I'd really like to see her at 60 and see what she could do. And I heard from several other players in the Discord and that they were extremely happy with Lady Shock.
Yeah, I built Ramses to 50 and then pulled him out of the team. Like I very after the first few days, I didn't really use him anymore because I had Keyseen. I had a Slayer.
Oh,
Even though he was
yeah.
legendary, right? I wasn't able to build his skills out as easily, and I wasn't able to ascend him easily. But he was still very strong comparatively. And I mean, a tuning gear would have helped because I could have got a bit of extra accuracy or a bit of extra speed or whatever, depending on the gear piece. But I was happy not being able to attune him and just having him as 3-star ascended for quite a while until I was able to farm the resources. But yeah, he was a huge carry. Really, really strong Slayer. Very cool, very fun. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
and in the
interesting,
meantime, I
right?
looked up that the legendary was Metzli.
Ah,
That
Metzli.
I
Oh,
was.
wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's strong. Yeah, as an invoker. Very cool. Yep.
Yeah. And I think she could be even stronger because a lot of her awakenings make her skills better. So you have to wait until you get copies of her, right? But I think she could be even more useful. And so Metzli was my other Godforge Quests hero,
Right.
and now I quickly realized that there was no way I was going to be able to maintain 2 accounts during the beta. So I only farmed that one in the background a little bit here and there. But yeah, Metzli seemed really nice. Is there anyone else that you built that that you weren't thinking about when you went into the beta that you're like, oh, this is going to be a good one?
Yeah, Akuma was quite okay, along with Ramses. He hit quite hard too, and basically the idea was that I had to. There were some challenges where I had to have Ramses and then other heavy hitter, and with Akuma, let's see what I had. So 5-star fully ascended, and the only problem with Akuma was that his ultimate skill only targeted one opponent, but that one opponent most of the time just died straight away.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he hit hard. What debuff does he put up?
Let me check.
Doesn't he do
Because
curse or
I have
something?
the
Is it
skills.
curse?
No, not curse. It will take a while until I rotate the skills because the debuff itself was less prominent.
But he's a heavy hitter. Yeah, I didn't really play
Yeah.
with a lot of the rares in terms of expecting them to hit hard or whatever. I used them more for specific challenges or as some sort of support because I just felt that rares were a little bit underpowered in terms of the damage that they could bring compared to other heroes. But yeah, certain rares I definitely brought in for challenges. So I built Isolde only so that I could bring her into a few stages as part of a challenge. But also, when I first started trying to get through the Virage adventure mode, Divana was one-shotting my team. So I had to take out Cleopatra because she has a turn meter boost on her basic. And every time you turn meter boost, Divana would counterattack and just slay me just in one shot. Way overtuned,
Yeah.
like way overtuned. And so I brought in Isolde as my support there, and her little radiance on someone and just the little mends and that here and there, it helped enough when I had control through disruptors. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was a kind of a change in how I thought about things.
Yeah, so on my last day, um, I was realizing the need for a second disruptor
Mm.
to get through adventure mode. I only got through the first two realms in adventure mode,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that's because I didn't have, another disruptor that was 50. And
Mm.
Scatty, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
looked to be a really strong one that I wish I had built a couple days earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm definitely going to look at the disruptors more in beta 2. And then another one I absolutely want to take to 60 and really do some damage testing with was Ma Cao, the rare uh, that uh, have. Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
Yeah,
So he
Machal.
was,
Yeah, he's an
yeah,
eternal.
yeah. Because I only had him at 50,
Mm.
and I'd like, I had a few blue pieces and a couple of purple pieces on him for
Mm.
armor, and he was doing almost 20k AOE,
Whoa.
and then close to 60k with his A3.
What?
So yeah, he was smacking, and
Oh,
I had. Oh, we
we
lost.
lost. We lost at least
Yeah,
Schultz.
hopefully he comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
hopefully he just pops back
I'm
in.
surprised that
Yeah,
Machal was doing that, carrying
yeah, I had
that
him
much
on
heft.
a fairly decent gear for
Mm.
what having played other games. I know his gear was not any good,
Mm.
but he was around 2,000 some attack,
That's pretty good.
and
Yeah, to be able to get
um,
the other stats too
and
and 2,000 attack, I found that
and
hard.
he wasn't 100% crit, but I think he was around
Mm.
80. I think. And then but yeah, he was smacking, and I was like,
Wow.
now that 60k with his A3 was when there was already a defense break on the target.
Ah, right. Yeah.
But still, I mean, I was like, this guy is destroying stuff,
Mm.
and so I mean, and that was only a 5-star. Like, I definitely want to really push him in beta 2
I'm not a big fan
because
of randomly assigned debuffs and buffs. So Machal's ultimate has a chance to either place Faith down, speed up.
yeah,
So it's either a buff or a debuff, or it's to
yeah,
reduce their defense. Is it reduce their defense or ignore defense? I think it's reduce their defense by 5%.
reduce the defense, I
Mm.
believe.
So that was
Yeah,
intriguing to me. I wanted to use him because that was kind of intriguing, but I thought, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that kind of thing where you're not in control of what's being placed. Hey, let's choose from a selection of 6 options and we'll just chuck something up. Whereas on the other hand,
yeah,
Pandora would choose any of the disables from the 7 disables, and then she would place those disables on the enemies. And that was fine because she would place multiple disables at times. Sometimes she would place 3 disables on all 4 foes, and every disable that she placed, it would increase her divinity. So then she'd suddenly be at half divinity again, and she'd get rolled
yeah.
onto her ultimate again. And so Pandora was fantastic. I really, really hope they don't change her because she was so fun to use, so useful. But it was annoying if you landed just sleep on the enemies and you're like, Keesin's gonna
Yeah.
burn through one of those states because he's AoE. I have to be really careful who I target, and then when you target someone with Pandora's basic, she randomly chooses a second target to hit as well to try and steal their buff,
Yeah.
and so you'd wake someone up. And I found that sometimes disables would just disappear, but I'm not sure if it was a bug or if it was just because it was despair, and despair is kind of funky and annoying, and I think they need to fix it. They need to fix despair. But yeah, it's interesting to find out that Machao smacked because I've
Yeah,
got.
he smacked great,
I think I've
and
got.
I also
Yeah.
I'm right there with you on like doing random stuff and not
Mm,
knowing what you're gonna get. I don't like those kind of kits.
mm,
In fact, one of the legendaries I pulled, and I don't remember his name. Uh, he's the guy with the hat, and he does like 8 bazillion debuffs. But one of his skills is like, I'm gonna choose one of these 6 debuffs, and I'm gonna
mm,
put it on. And I'm like, nah, I don't.
mm,
I'm not. I didn't even. I left him at 1 star, and
mm,
um, and then when I figured out my child could really hit, uh, I built Shinigami
mm.
so that I could do AoE defense break
Yep.
ahead of him.
Hmm.
And then it didn't matter what Ma Chao did. He was just
Yep.
there for the damage. And so I don't know. There's so much to test. There's so much
Oh yeah.
to try out.
I
And
I feel like Shinigami is a little bit squishy, and so I did try to use
yeah,
him a bit because he was good in the alpha. He does smack, and he's such a cool looking character, and his animations are
yeah,
very cool with his big scythe and that. And of course, you got the debuff of defense down, which is really useful against wave content and bosses instantly. But I just found that he was a little bit too squishy to really work with. So I went with Dagonet as my defense down hero because he places Vanish on himself. So Vanish was broken in the beta, but I was thinking
yeah,
for the future when they fix that, he's actually going to be protected with his Vanish. And so
yeah.
yeah, I started bringing Dagonet at level 50. Yeah, 40? Maybe I took him to 50 eventually. Uh, he was basically my only rare that I was bringing into boss content. I was doing stage 10 bosses in some cases, and I had Dagonet there just to place defense down on these bosses, and he held up. I thought if I had Shinigami, he'd probably be lying on the floor. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I only got up to 6, 7, or 8 on the dungeons
yeah.
where it could be done consistently, where I
Mm,
could
mm,
actually farm it.
mm.
Um, and part of that was just because I spent 2 days doing campaign gear instead of 2 days dungeon gear,
Yep.
which is just much better quality stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah. So just a lot of so much to try. I really like that they're trying to. So obviously they're doing a fairly hard task here, trying to release this big of a game as their first game, and
Mm,
there's going to be some growing pains with that.
hmm.
And but okay, good, we're getting them back. Good, good, good.
Looks like he's coming back
Um,
online.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't want him to be not here for the last segment.
Hmm.
So okay, good, good. I'm glad you're back.
Looks like you've got a bit of a fuzzy
um,
connection there, though, Jolt.
yeah,
And no sound. No sound.
no,
I don't know if you can hear
still
us,
no
but
sound.
we can't hear you. You might have to check Discord settings and make sure it hasn't switched to like your webcam microphone or something weird, because sometimes Discord does that. It will switch the device. So if you go into
Change the
audio,
input.
yeah, yeah, if you change the
Yeah, there
input,
we
yep.
go. Yeah,
Input
that's
is
what it
now
did for me when I was first on here. Was it
Mm,
was trying to go off of something else that wasn't
yeah.
even connected.
yeah.
Yeah, apologies on the delay. I had like 4 restarts because of a scheduled software update that the computer decided on doing it now.
Okay.
Oh, jeez. Lovely. Well, Jolt, we were just talking about uh, what heroes we found. Like maybe you could talk about. Was there a hero that you found that you weren't really expecting to use that you just thought was really cool, and you ended up using him quite a bit or just liking him? him or her or it.
Well, ended up using the starter for quite long, but I didn't really think that Isolde would have any sort of a use case after getting Metzli and after getting another legendary healer. And the reason why I still had to end up with Isolde is that they have this strange mechanic in Godforge now that the auras are bound to location. So Isolde can only be used in campaign with the speed aura, and Metzli can only be used in dungeons for the 25% speed aura. And that's why I ended up with building the hero that I didn't even want to build at all, because I had enough experience with Isolde from Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, and it was good enough for the cause, but I thought that we have better. But for the campaign, I had to build her eventually.
Yeah. Well, guys, I don't want to keep you forever. I think we've had a really nice conversation here, but I thought maybe we could end with, you know, I guess 2 questions. First is, what are your plans for beta 2? And then what would you say to someone who's saying like, oh, I'm not sure I want to try Godforge, but maybe we'll start with the plans first and then we'll end on the.
All right. So plans for beta 2.
Yeah, go ahead, Joel.
We have no idea when it's gonna happen, so sooner or later. I figured out beta 1 as well a few weeks ago that it was airing like around now. So I think in a matter of a month I can prepare quite easily. And I expect basically tooling and everything else that it's gonna be more smooth than before. And I will do some upfront preparation and also content to make sure that there is going to be proper guidance also for me as well as everyone who watches my channel to know what to do, where to go, and in what sequence we need to gather the resources optimally. Back in the days in Raid, initially what took me 1 to 2 weeks is now taking me less than 2 days. So I would expect the same thing with Beta 2, that even though it's not a 2 days experience yet, but getting closer to it.
I think it's interesting that we have so many more heroes from the get-go when we hit Beta 2 compared to this. So we started with a starter hero, and if you played the minigame, you had a legendary, and that was what you started with. And you would hit the campaign and you'd start to build your roster, you'd start to get stones, you would start to summon, and you would get more and more heroes into your roster over time. So by the end of Beta 1, if you'd built up quite the roster of heroes, then you've got this huge army going into Beta 2, and that's what's going to be very different about it. I'm looking forward to the Pantheon boss. I'm looking forward to working with my Pantheon. We have a Pantheon cluster. Shout out to Control Alt Elite, ELT. We have multiple Pantheons under our umbrella, and I'm leading one called Vanguard. So hopefully we'll get a lot of Pantheon sort of communication and interactivity going on a lot more in Beta 2 when we're doing lots of Pantheon type stuff. And there's going to be PvP, so we're expecting there to be an arena to test. So I am looking forward to that. I don't know what I can do to prepare for that, except to maybe theorycraft with other people about which of my heroes is going to shine in the arena. And I expect us to also have access to all of the PvE content we had in Beta 1. That is the dungeons, the campaign, everything like that. So we're going to work our way through story campaign again, and we'll have the chance there to gather more resources and build up very specifically the heroes that we choose to build. So one thing I'm looking forward to is a slightly different approach to possibly bosses, especially the fact that we're doing the Pantheon boss, but yeah, different heroes to build. So I pulled Fenrir right at the end there in Beta 1, and he places bleeds. I also have Freki, who is Odin's little wolf buddy, and I think I've got 3 copies of him, so I can have an Awakened 2 Freki who places bleeds. And I might take Lady Shock as my starter potentially in Beta 2 for that whole bleed play. So we'll see how bleeds pan out with 3 bleed type heroes in there, because that's that'll be 3 Slayers though. I don't want to bring 3 Slayers. You're gonna have to have at least an Invoker against the Pantheon boss to help support your team, a Defender to help mitigate everything and keep them alive and potentially weaken the boss, and possibly a really good Disruptor that's going to place all of those debuffs that you really need to chip away at a boss. So we'll see how that works out, but maybe some of the content like arena play, bring in the Fenrir plus Frecky and see how things work out. The two wolves going at it. It'll be kind of fun. But just in terms of preparation for beta 2, I'm just going to continue to release content. Excuse me, got a bit of hay fever. I'm going to put out videos as many as I can between now and then. Increase my short form content, which I very seldom do, but try to do a bit more short form content. Maybe just prepare and build my following and put out more videos in preparation for beta 2 and just things to look out for. And yeah, because we don't know exactly what to expect for it, there's only so much we can say. This is how you prepare for beta 2. We can't make promises and we don't know when it's coming. So just being pretty open about that. How about yourself?
Well, so so I do plan on doing quite a bit more videos, and I just made my second short ever for the content creator challenge. And that short has actually done quite well. And so I'm going to be trying to use shorts to kind of so one of the things I'm thinking about is I want to try to bring in more people, not only to my community, but more people to just try out Godforge. And I think shorts could be a really good way to like entice people to at least give it a shot. And so I'm going to be working on those. And I've got some more long form videos. I recorded almost everything I did in beta, with the exception of the last big day that didn't record properly. And so I'm just going to be sifting through those and figuring out what videos I can make out of that. And then I also I took screenshots of my hero box. So I know all of my legendaries, all my epics, and all of my rares. And I did also build the Black Panther up to 4-star. He's an uncommon, and he actually hit pretty hard, but I won't be spending time on him in beta 2, I don't think. But he was fun. But I'm going to be looking at my hero roster and figuring out, okay, who are the first 5 that I'm going to be building, and get a strong start with those, and then start, and who's going to be my, it's pretty hard not to use Quetzalcoatl in arena. So he's going to be my speed lead and reviver, and I'll have to make him super tanky so that people can't just kill him off right away. But but I'm just really looking forward to it. And as they release more information, I'm gonna try to get that out to my community.
I was intrigued what makes the most sense when we get started with the PvP. So on day 1, you spend all your resources, that's one of the options, and you build whatever you had theoretically crafted before, and then you do your best. Or the other option is that you come up with some mediocre team for day 1. And you just win a couple of arena battles, you lose some, and you gather information. And then you deploy your resources on day 2 or day 3. When you know everyone else's opinion and experience, and you still have the resources. I was thinking about this option.
I'm definitely interested in arena. I can't wait until Godforge has the equivalent of Siege. That is absolutely my favorite, but arena will be my second choice, and I think I am gonna go with that second option. Is just focus on building stuff and building resources the first couple days, and toying around in arena and seeing what other people are using. And then 3rd or 4th day is when I'm gonna really start putting the team together.
Yeah, that sounds like a good approach. I think if you come into the arena on day 1, just throw it at what you can. That's what you can do in other games. You've got what you've got, and you give it a shot. You just try. If you lose, you lose. You're not there to win from day one, and you're going to come up against some people that got lucky, and they're going to have better gear and better heroes and better countermeasures on day one and day two and day three. But you got to try. You got to throw something at it. So put your best defenders in as your defense, and take your best attackers in to attack the other defenders, if you can. Yeah.
So it's interesting because I'm actually done with Raid now. I was playing Raid prior to Godforge beta coming out because I knew that Raid and Godforge were going to be at least somewhat similar, given how everyone was from kind of the Raid community, most of the key people at Fateless. And so I joined a nice guild. I liked the people I was with. But a lot of them were actually fairly negative about Godforge. They're like, "Oh, that's going to flop, and that's going to be crap," and I was like, "What? You guys haven't even looked at it?" But that got me thinking about kind of. I think what will end on the final question here is, why should someone who has not been involved in the Fateless community, who has not been involved with any of the Godforge alphas or betas, why should they try out Godforge?
Why not? It's a fresh take. It does have a few selling points. When you get into it, unfortunately, it still does feel like a bit of a Raid clone. But then anything in this genre is going to feel like it's taken from other games. I heard that people were saying when Raid came out, "Hey, it's a Summoner's War clone." So I mean, it's just a cycle, isn't it? Godforge could. I don't know if they'll lead the market. I don't think they're trying to take down the behemoth. There was talk over many, many years that the next MMO to come out could be the next WoW killer. But there has been no WoW killer, and there doesn't need to be either. Like, there's a huge Final Fantasy XIV following. There's a huge Guild Wars following. There's a huge, what's that, Elder Scrolls Online following, right? You don't have to corner the market and pull in everyone who plays that kind of game. So I think the right mindset is to just say, if the elements within this game are what you are looking for, then give it a shot. One of the selling points that it has is that it's based on mythology. But that's not the biggest selling point for everyone. I've seen comments that go, "Oh, they're doing mythology. Mythology's been overdone. There are all these movies about mythology, and people are always doing mythology and stuff, so that sucks." But that's just, people being negative Nancy's. If people love mythology, then Godforge is going to be a really good place to see what they've done with that mythology. It is a fresh take, and Aaron's doing a really good job with the narrative and with taking all these mythological ideas and that within the realms and making it fresh and different and interesting. And I think it's a really good take on the whole mythology as an IP thing. So for me, that's a really big selling point. That's something I would tell people. But also just in general, the gameplay is similar to other hero collectors, but it's going to have all different mechanics in the game. It's going to have all different systems in the game. It's going to have all different gameplay options in the game. See what's different. You might as well, when the game comes further along and is a lot more polished and these systems have been reworked, then see if it pulls you in, and if you enjoy the buzz of summoning heroes, and if that's going to really capture your attention and hold you there. So time will tell. But that's what I would say to people is, what have you got to lose? You don't have to pour all your time into this game. I'm not saying jump on board and stop playing all your other games. Maybe see if it's your cup of tea.
Okay.
That's the thing, that Fateless is basically building this game as a community first initiative. And we have no idea what Godforge is going to be at the end. We've seen the alphas, we've seen the beta. So far, progress has been really promising in terms of graphics, in terms of music, in terms of a lot of other things. I've been quite critical about some of the grind elements. At the same time, today, and I'm not even having access to Godforge itself, sometimes I got caught up in a moment where I was playing the Godforge music in my mind. It was quite close to there was a movie called Rurouni Kenshin, and that's a
Yeah, I'm
back
familiar
in the
with it.
days, the drama, the music, the intro music was quite similar as the Godforge music right now. That's where I got the connection from. But
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
the music sounds and also some of the graphics got improved drastically. They will be able to do the same thing with the gameplay.
Oh yeah.
And if you have seen all the content creator relationship with Raid in the last 1 or 2 years at least, you have seen that this is a continuous open struggle that Plarium has made some questionable decisions in the past. And the you asked, we listened type of answers that Plarium provided from time to time was a bit sarcastic at times, that all you could have listened at like 2 years before, right? And with this community here, it looks like it's different, because does it mean that if you don't like something, then it's gonna be implemented in one day? Of course, it doesn't mean anything like that. In fact, not everyone's wishes can come true. At the same time, people actively listen to feedback and aggregate it in the right channels. And all people believe in Fateless succeeding. So they have the right people in place. Sometimes they have a bit too dedicated people in place when it comes to engagement with the game, right? At the same time, they will eventually find a balance. I'm quite confident about it. And then the best time to start is now with the beta 2, because when will you next have a chance to experiment without your decisions having like a long-lasting consequence on your account?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Absolutely. That's excellent points, guys. That's really good. And I agree. So actually, so my iPad was what I used whenever I was at work, because I couldn't do it on the computer at work. And the iPad was actually crashing 3, 4, 5 times a day. But then when it would come back up and the Godforge music would start again, like that intro music, that was a hook. That was a really big hook. I loved the music, and it's one of the few games I've actually played with the music on while I'm playing. Like I don't play Summoner's War with the music on. I don't play Raid with the music on, and so that was a huge selling for me. And then I also agree with Gecko that like because I've seen a lot of people involved in other games who are just kind of bashing Godforge, and it's like I think people should just not listen to anybody. Just go and try it yourself, and see if you like it or not. Don't listen to the people who are negative Nancy's. Don't listen to everyone who seems completely sold on Godforge is going to be perfect. Go in and try it yourself. Give it a couple of days, and you can do that in beta too, where the consequences are not there. And I already know that I'm going to start up different in beta 2, and I'm going to be theory crafting for the next. I actually hope that we have 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks to theory craft and get more video ideas out, and get more try to draw a few more people in before beta 2 actually starts, so we can get a bigger hit of people as beta 2 starts up. And I'm going to keep talking to some of my buddies in Raid to see if I can change their opinion. But guys, I really appreciate you doing this. It's been great to meet both of you. I was actually quite excited about that, because I wanted to start to get to know the rest of the content creator community, because I was alone in Summoner's War until I finally connected with Childish, who was another big content creator for Summoner's War.
Right.
And then I had a buddy. And I didn't even bother with Raid, because I knew that content creator community was a bit odd. And then the same thing with Element Fission. With Element Fission, there was like I was one of the leading content creators for Element Vision in the first couple of months. Churned out a ton of videos, and I never even heard from the company. And so, like when I when I heard that Fateless was actually doing Godforge, and I joined the community, someone in the Discord was like, "Talk to Susie if you want to be a content creator," and I was like, "Okay." So I sent a DM to Susie, really not expecting to ever hear back. And then 5 minutes later, I was in a conversation with her, and I was like, "What?
Yeah.
Holy cow! How's that happening?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wait, this is actually a company that actually listens to the content creators and wants to have them in their wheelhouse and and support them." And then, so then after that, going with my point of trying, I was like, well, okay, I'm just going to ask to see if I could maybe interview Simon. And and then all of a sudden, I had an interview with Simon.
Oh, you did?
And yeah,
I've never even
it was
attempted that.
yeah, it happened. And it was actually one of my highest views for any of my Godforge videos.
Whoa.
And like I was, everyone knows who Hell Hades is, right? And I was like, I'm never going to be able to talk to that guy. And to get an hour with Simon, that was amazing. Like right there, I was hooked. I was like, that's it. These people really care about their players, and they really care about their content creators. And I think they're just doing a completely different approach than anyone else is. And I want to support something like that. I want to see if they can succeed. And I'm very confident that they can be.
Yeah. Yeah, no matter what it looks like, it's going to be successful. If it doesn't achieve 1 million players after the first 3 months, that does not make it unsuccessful. There are particular metrics, but it doesn't matter what happens if they keep moving forward with what they're actually doing and engaging with the community and the content creators and feedback and this feedback loop and communication, the weekly podcasts and the weekly updates or bi-weekly updates or whatever, just everything that they're communicating, and that if they maintain that, then they can't help but be successful, because success only comes from the customers, right? And if the customers are happy and they're actually part of the development of the product, then you're going to have a better product, and you're going to have a stronger customer base, and you're going to have more retention within that space. So they are doing things right, and the whole community first approach has been pretty refreshing. I know of other companies that do a community first approach. So for example, Titan Quest 2 is currently in, I don't know what version it is. It's like early access or beta, and they engage with their community about everything as well. So it's really good to see other companies doing what Fateless is doing in terms of engaging with its community and listening to them and providing feedback in that. I was invited to be on the podcast way back before we had nearly this many content creators, but I can't make the time frame. Like it's 3 o'clock in the morning or something crazy. So because of my time zone, I have not engaged with the development team and the founders in that, because they just, they're upside down. They're on the other side of the world. Basically, my time zone throws everything off. I haven't been able to be on the podcast or have any sort of interviews or sit downs or any of that stuff. Just the time zone doesn't seem to work. So it's just one of those things. So that's why I like to do these content creator collabs, because I get to meet you guys, other people that I haven't engaged with before, and we get to talk about something that we're passionate about. So it's really cool. So thank you for putting this together.
Very happy to do it. It's really nice to meet both of you guys. This has been really cool. So that I get to do this for fun, it's pretty awesome.
And I got to put a face to the name, who has been rather prominent in the content creator channel recently.
Yeah,
so
I've really I haven't responded to all of your comments.
I've read all of Schultz's stuff.
Yeah, Jolt's had some really nice comments
Insightful stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the issue, because some of the feedback had to be delivered to
Yeah.
make the game better.
Bit of a shake-up,
But
right?
it's for shake-up too.
Yeah.
But some of these things are better done internally.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
initially, because those people who have absolutely no idea what Godforge is right now, if they hear about this content for the first time, and that's how they meet Godforge, I cannot want this, right? So I rather toned down my video production at the moment, because I have other things to do as well, and made sure that the message is crystal clear. That around two things that we talked about. So one of the things were the battery and time investment of the grind, where the player doesn't do anything. That can be simplified, and that will be simplified most likely, because it's not that hard anyway. The other part is the system that is not gear removal but attunement. That there are some very simple changes as well to make it more meaningful, or maybe delay it to a bit later.
Yeah.
These were the two main points that we were talking about. But the difficulty is, and that's why I had to be so prominent, is that some people think that I want an easier game. No, I don't. All I wanted,
a better game.
Yeah, exactly. A game for people as well who have family or have a job, for instance. And no, I respect my colleagues rather to not, let's say, go into a meeting and then Godforge, let's administrate auto battles. It's just classless.
Yeah.
Also, I've heard some people, like some rumors that let's go to a bathroom break and administrate Godforge. No, that doesn't have class either.
You shouldn't have to do that.
We can just solve it in easier ways. That was the idea.
Yeah. You shouldn't have to do that.
No, you shouldn't.
And the one thing I really hope that they've already talked about how they're going to improve that promotion system, because if you have to spend 60 minutes clicking 1 stars into 2 stars and feeding them into spirits and everything, it just should not happen. It's and I know that they're going to fix it, and I'm very confident they will. And it's because they're listening to us. And this is going to be when I interviewed Simon, one of the things I said is that I've been a content creator for 3 years, but I've always been late to the game. I've always I started doing content for Summoner's War after it had been out for 4 years, and then I started doing. Now I was early to the game for Element Fission, but then there was no engagement whatsoever with the company. And so this is the first time I get to be early on, and the company is really concerned about engagement.
Yep.
And I'm just super excited to see where this goes.
I'm quite certain that there is going to be a success story at the end, simply because we already have a community. That community came from Hell Hades, partially, mostly.
Yeah.
The original one, and we're building on top of it. And those players knew that that community was all about making the game significantly better and overshadowing some of the quirks of Raid. With the optimizer, and Raid doesn't have a website that is engaging. Hell, this site was the Raid website for quite a while to go to.
For a lot of
Absolutely.
people. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
And just imagine one important point. You've seen the leaderboard when you logged into Fateless GG, right?
Nope.
Yes.
Whatever we've seen with the Hell Hades challenge that was not part of Raid Shadow Legends, we can expect some similar things in the game.
Yeah, leaderboards. I don't check leaderboards. I'm not a competitive person, so I mean, if I can overcome my own challenges, I'm happy. Yeah.
Yeah, we all set our goals ourselves, so I don't have illusions that I won't compete for the very top either.
It's not realistic.
Not within reach, right?
No.
At the same time, we all have goals.
Yeah, we do.
I'll admit, initially I was thinking I'd try to see where I could get on those leaderboards, but then when work got busy, I was like, okay, that's just not going to happen.
No.
And I also realized that I'm no longer 25, and that I can't stay up. I
No.
can't stay up till 5 in the morning like I used to be able to do. So, but anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording because I think we've got a pretty good thing here.
Fantastic.
But we can all say goodbye, and then I'll stop recording. So,
That
guys,
sounds good,
it's
dude.
been great meeting you, great working with you, and hopefully we can do something again in the future.
Yeah, it's been really
Looking
good.
forward to it.
Yeah, it's been really good meeting you guys and being able to sit down like this and chat all things Godforge. So yeah, I look forward to doing future content with you guys and other content creators and just getting the word out about the development of Godforge and how far it's coming, and especially this whole community first approach, which I think is very important. So thank you.
Also happy to discuss anything Godforge also in the future. So you will hear quite a lot from me as well in terms of optimization around Godforge, possibly automatized.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.